What is up, guys? It is Quinn here, and in this video, I'm going to be running through my Week 17 injury report. So this is where I go through the players who are questionable, doubtful, and then the guys who have already been ruled out heading into the Week 17 games. Obviously, this is going to be the Sunday and then Monday games. If you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you guys have any fantasy questions, start sits, whatever it may be, you can drop those down below, and I will make sure to respond back to every single person. But let's just jump right into it, and we're going to start off with the players who are questionable. So starting it off here with DeAndre Hopkins, he's dealing with a knee injury. I would say that if DeAndre Hopkins is good to go in this game, he's playing, we're not hearing he's super limited, then, I think he's still a wide receiver 2 option. It looks like they're going to be going with David Blau, I think, David Blau, however you say it. Obviously, the quarterback situation is not ideal. It wasn't great last week. It's not going to be great here. I still think he's talented enough where if he's good to go, he's playing, he's someone you're worth, starting in your lineup. I will say that if he misses this game, it may make Marquise Brown a better option. Maybe it bumps him into like a top 30 wide receiver, but I would still not be super excited about plugging in Marquise Brown. Then we have Trevor Lawrence dealing with a toe injury. I would expect T-Law to be good to go for this game. Doug Peterson came out. He wants to play his starters. Looks like, this is going to be a game that they go out, try to win. So I'd expect Lawrence to play. We've got Jerry Jeudy dealing with an ankle injury. For Jeudy here, I think if he plays, he's somewhere in that like wide receiver 20 to 26 area, a solid option. Hopefully he is able to give it a go. If he misses, I think that bumps Courtland Sutton up to probably like high-end wide receiver 3 option. Ramondre Stevenson dealing with an ankle. He's been dealing with this, I think, for a few weeks now. I'd be surprised if he didn't give it a go. And if he's playing, I'm definitely firing him up as a running back 1. We saw Chris Olave miss last week with this hamstring injury. He's questionable once again heading into week 17. If he's good to go this week, I would list him as like a high-end wide receiver 3. If he misses, there's not like a wide receiver that I'm bumping up and would be super excited to play. And then in terms of like the quarterback position, it really doesn't factor in here. Like, I don't want to be starting a guy like Andy Dalton. And then I guess maybe like tight end, it could be a slight bump to Jawan Johnson if Olave's out, but I really don't think it changes much around him. At the wide receiver position, we have Tyler Lockett dealing with that hand injury, I think more specifically like his finger. He's questionable for this one. In my opinion, if he's playing, they have him ready to go. I imagine he's, close to 100%. I don't think with like a hand or finger injury, he's going to be on like some sort of snap count. It's not like working back from like an ankle or a knee, something like that. So if he's active, I like him as a wide receiver 2. We also have his teammate Kenneth Walker with an ankle. He's been dealing with this over the past few weeks. I'd be very surprised if he didn't give it a go. He's someone who I view as a top 12 running back here. Christian Watson dealing with that hip injury. If Watson's able to play, I really, really like him in this matchup against the Vikings. So hopefully he is able to give it a go. He would be a clear-cut wide receiver 2 for me. If he was out, I think this would be a solid bump for Allen Lazard, who probably is somewhere in that top 24 wide receiver area. Maybe Romeo Doubs also gets a bump, but he's not someone that I'd be super excited to play in my lineup. A guy who had a huge week in week 16, Tyler Higbee, he's dealing with an elbow. If he's playing in this game, I think McVay came out, said he expects him to be good to go. He's someone I feel fine plugging in there as a tight end 1. Another tight end, Dawson Knox, dealing with a hip. This is the Monday night game, so they don't have their official injury report out, but he was a limited participant in their most recent practice. He's another guy where if he's playing in that game, I think he's a top 12 guy. Maybe a little bit of a tougher situation to navigate because if we don't know exactly, by Sunday, then some decisions will need to be made, but we'll evaluate that over the next day or two. And in that same matchup, we may see Hayden Hurst make his return. I believe he was a full participant at least once this week with that calf injury. Someone who I view as more of like a high-end tight end too, but could definitely be a streaming option this week. Now moving over to the one player who is doubtful, that is Jalen Hurts with that shoulder. I think there was some optimism that he would play, only miss 1 week. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So Gardner Minshew is going to be rolling out there again. I view him as a back-end QB1. I do think he's a top 12 guy this week. I don't really think it affects A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Those guys are still going to get fed. Same thing with Dallas Goedert. So really, Jalen Hurts just not in your lineup for fantasy, but I still like Gardner and I still like all of those weapons. And then moving over to the players who have been ruled out, I guess kind of fortunate, not a ton of huge names. There are some big-time players who have been ruled out, But in previous weeks, the list has been a lot longer. Starting it off here with Greg Dulcich, who is, I believe he got put on IR with a hamstring injury. At least he is going to be out for this game for sure. Unfortunate. Someone who had kind of broken out as a rookie, had been a fringe option, so he will not be a viable play this week. We have Tua out with that concussion. I'd be surprised if he sees the field again this season. Third concussion, it's just not a great look. In terms of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I still think they're both playable. Tyreek Hill still has to be a lock in your lineup. I think Jalen Waddle is more of like a probably more of a mid-tier wide receiver too, but I definitely think he's still playable with Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater is not someone I'd be super excited to play in one quarterback leagues. We have Antonio Gibson, who's actually out with a foot and a knee injury. I do think this is a pretty significant bump for Brian Robinson. I do believe he has a solid matchup this week. Now, I don't think he's going to come in and be like the full 3-down back. I still think they're going to filter in a guy in that Antonio Gibson role. I believe they have Jonathan Williams on that roster, and he will probably filter in. But this is definitely at least a little bit of a bump for Brian Robinson, who's probably a top 24 RB this week. Deebo Samuel, not super surprising, out with that ankle/knee injury. So we'll see another week of Brandon Ayuk operating as their wide receiver 1, and should definitely be a solid wide receiver 2 for fantasy. And then the final guy here, another big name quarterback, just like Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson is still out with that knee injury. He's definitely missed more time than I think people have expected. Not a great look. Definitely not helping you win your fantasy championships. So unfortunate there. Tyler Huntley will get another start. I view him as more of like a mid-tier QB2. I think the big hit here is definitely to Mark Andrews, who has been underperforming with Tyler Huntley. I think, it's a combo of the quarterback change and then also just the fact that it's been a rough stretch. I don't think he's unable to produce with Tyler Huntley. I mean, if we look back at the splits last season, he was actually pretty amazing with Tyler Huntley. So hopefully we're able to get some of that Andrews magic here in Week 17 if you have made it to the championship with him on your roster. But that is going to wrap it up for the Week 17 injury report. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're getting super close to 4,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate all the support. And then if for some reason this isn't your championship game, I will still be putting out some content in Week 18. Not quite as much as I have over the last few weeks, but I will still be putting out my start-sit videos, maybe rankings for running backs and wide receivers. I guess I'll see how much engagement there is. But, if you are having a Week 18 championship, there will be some stuff out there on my channel. So thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.